Israel's Security Cabinet has approved sweeping measures that tighten its grip on the occupied West Bank. The measures make it easier for Israeli settlers to illegally seize Palestinian land. They also significantly expand the powers of Israeli authorities in areas under Palestinian control. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has condemned the move as dangerous and illegal. He's warning it amounts to de facto annexation. And he says US President Donald Trump and the UN Security Council should intervene. OK, here's how Israel has, over the years, expanded its control in the occupied territories. Now, before the British mandate in Palestine began, more than a century ago, Jews made up 8% of the population. By 1947, that had increased to 33%, mainly through Jews immigrating from Europe. On May the 14th, 1948, the British mandate ended and the State of Israel was created. Armed Zionist forces captured 78% of historic Palestine and expelled 750,000 Palestinians from their homes. After the 1967 Arab-Israeli War, Israel occupied more of historic Palestine and annexed East Jerusalem. And then came the Oslo Accords of the mid-1990s. The occupied West Bank was divided into 3 areas, granting Palestinians limited power to fully govern Area A and partially govern Area B. Mohammed Dahle is a Jerusalem-based human rights lawyer who's been practicing in the Israeli and Palestinian legal systems since 1993. He's joining us now from occupied East Jerusalem. So thank you very much indeed for being with us. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas is describing this as de facto annexation. In your understanding, what is going to be, in real terms, the impact of Palestinian communities?
I mean, this is going to be devastating. All the decisions that have been taken by the Israeli cabinet, which we haven't seen them because they are secret decisions for security reasons. We just know their content from what has been published by the ministers. They basically are actually annexing the West Bank, the occupied West Bank. They're allowing now Israeli citizens, normal Israeli citizens, to go and purchase lands in the West Bank and basically start what I call private settlement initiatives anywhere. While in the past, up until now, since 1967, any Israeli citizen who wanted to even buy land in the West Bank from Palestinians had to go through a lengthy process of establishing, first of all, a company within the so-called civil administration, which is run by the military commander of the West Bank. And the Israeli citizen also needed a permit from the agent responsible for this within the civil administration, so that no private settlements can be basically established by Israelis anywhere in any point in the West Bank. Now, they want to change all of this process that has been in place for almost 60 years now, and they want to allow Israeli citizens to go into the so-called real estate market in the West Bank and try to buy or purchase land from Palestinians. And when we know that a lot of these deals are based on forged documents or documents related to Palestinians who are outside of their homeland, either because they were not allowed to come back or they were expelled in 1967 or because their IDs were confiscated. So we're going to see a whole industry now of taking over Palestinian lands in different places anywhere in the West Bank. And then after that is being taken over with the different methods, including forged documents, as we have proven in many cases in the past. This would mean that settlements would be established almost anywhere. Now, even settlers can buy from that point of view in Area A or Area B or Area C, on the hills, in the fields, within Palestinian municipalities, within Palestinian neighborhoods. And this is going really to change the reality on the ground. But that's not the only change. They are now also, taking authorities from the PA, or, the limited authorities that the PA had based on the Oslo agreements, which you have referred to in your report, which are limited to Area A and Area B. Even those authorities, this jurisdiction, which is not really the jurisdiction that a sovereign power usually has, because the Palestinian Authority was never treated by Israel as a sovereign power and was never defined as a state. Even those limited powers, now they are being taken from the Palestinian Authority, giving back to the Israeli military commander the ability to demolish houses and constructions even within Area A and B.
I want to pick up on a point. Forgive me for interrupting you, but I do want to pick up on a point for clarification from you, if you don't mind, with regard to the reference to it is now possible for them to be able to buy Palestinian land. We're constantly referring to Palestinian land. Does this also apply to property itself? For example, if there were apartment buildings or homes that were within a Palestinian community, would they then be available to Israelis to buy?
Yeah, now it will be much easier. I mean, it was available in the past, but through a very bureaucratic, lengthy, complicated process with oversight of the Israeli government and the Israeli military commander, who was able basically to decide whether to give the permit for the specific deal, especially if the deal was in an area where there was no Israeli interest, I mean, on the level of the government to establish a new settlement, or we're establishing a new settlement in a certain Palestinian town or city was contradicting the policies of the government at the time.
So let me ask you this, because I want to get an idea of the kind of impact on the communities that are, the Palestinian communities that are already existing there. In the event that an Israeli settler is, under these new rules, able to, say, buy an apartment within a block or a community that is surrounded by Palestinians, what does that mean in terms of the Palestinian community itself? What kind of impact does that have? How are the Palestinians expected to change? How will life change for them if that happens?
I mean, other than the fact that this deal is going to be now much easier, when the settler moves into such a building or such a neighborhood, the whole reality of the Palestinian in that neighborhood will change. As we have seen that, for example, in Hebron a lot, because of the so-called security reasons, they will have soldiers surrounding that building. We'll have patrols of military cars coming and going all the time. We'll have barriers. Lots of neighborhoods in the city of Hebron, for example, have become de facto jail for Palestinians, where no people can come in and out other than the registered residents of those houses or those apartments, which makes you isolated from your own community. And eventually they will try to pressure you to leave. And that's exactly the policy. Even purchasing land, in the West Bank, they will use these methods on a large scale now, because you know how hard it is economically and otherwise now it's in the West Bank. A lot of Palestinians are actually outside of the West Bank and cannot return to the West Bank because of Israeli policies.
Mohammed Dahle, we're going to have to leave it there for the moment, but I'm very grateful to you for coming on Al Jazeera and explaining what is clearly a very complex situation to us. Thank you very much indeed.
My pleasure.
Don't miss out and get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.